Hello and welcome to our new show, Secret Sauce, where we have questions posed by you guys and ourselves to people within the industry to have a deeper look at what goes on within within the esports industry. In this season, we're tackling coaching, and we have two experienced coaches with us, Vetrezz and Mr.G. We have myself, Jamil, and Omar as well on the show. And without further ado, let's start. So, what is the process to encourage someone to give and receive feedback if they're reluctant to share or are frustrated to hear it, or both? So, this comes from a place of insecurity. Some people might not want to either voice an opinion because they don't have confidence in their own voice, or might not want to hear feedback because they have an internal voice that's very I can't seem to remember the word.
Sometimes it's not just ego. Maybe it's like you had a bad day and you're like, I don't want to hear about it. I've just had a bad day. I don't want to hear the feedback. So could be.
Yeah, you can hear it later, but still, like, if you have an internal monologue that's hurtful to you, that's going to be anything. For example.
Yeah, I think what you're really talking about, Omar, is in the person. It's their doubt. It's their sense of self-doubt.
Yeah.
It's a sense of self-esteem, and they feel that anything that is being said about their performance in that way is a personal criticism.
Yeah.
And I'll just jump straight into this question. I think with every team that I've ever come to, I've mentioned that as we go forward, we have to start with recognizing some uncomfortable elements. And some of these uncomfortable elements simply require that everybody gets used to the fact that the coach, the trainer, every member of the team is an expert.
Yeah.
And they will see what's going on. And it is their right to say, this is what I see. It takes a little bit of training, of course, not to attach, because we know feedback is not delivered in an emotional context. That's not feedback. But I think, going back to what Vetrezz said before about mindset and growth, same thing. And what I always say is, again, tell them straight away, even at the recruitment stage if you want, this is our process. Now, we play, we review, we are very candid in our discussions about levels and performance. Vetrezz and I were part of putting together and reviewing criteria by which people were measured, and we called them performance days. It could be that at any point in time, a manager or a coach said, this matchup, this competition is a performance competition. This training is a performance training, which immediately meant that after the training, they were going to look at the performance criteria in a live document, and they were going to be scoring each other right then and there in front of everybody, so that they get used to the fact. But I think when somebody is struggling, making mistakes, or doing badly, they already know it.
Yeah.
They know it. So what you're taking away is the surprise element, the emotional element, and you're giving it, you're creating the right space for it. And then, of course, we all know feedback can be delivered in a very structured way as well. So I go back to the fact that as long as you are discussing these things openly and transparently and in a supportive way with the growth mindset that we're all aiming for, then people get used to giving and receiving feedback. If, for some reason, they continue to fight the feedback, then scouts didn't do the right job for the team. Then we have somebody that we should know was never going to be in growth. I give when orgs are doing recruitment, I was often invited to meet a player, and the coach would sit in and listen. And one particular coach said to me, I like hearing you talk to them because you talk to them about stuff no one else talks about. And the reason for that is I'm digging around in their life in a way. I'm very interested in them as a person. I want to understand how they behave in certain situations, in difficult situations, supportive situations, and you're constantly moving around because you are looking for a basis already of what will make them a good or great team member. And one of those things has to be the ability. I have on occasion even, Vetrezz, I think you and I know this player where you said this player really needs a little bit of confidence. And in the recruitment phase, I said to this player's face, like just directly, I said something quite harsh and then paused. And then I said, how do you feel about that? And then I explained to them what I just did and said, this is what I think I can do for you. So they know that I'm doing it from a supportive standpoint as well. But even in the recruitment phase, being quite direct and harsh and testing and probing a little bit is a good thing. Yeah. The ability to take feedback is not an easy thing.
Yeah, so
I was going to mention the one-on-ones are really important because in that space, especially that players are so young, like they're in their I don't know if it's formative stages, but like they're still very impressionable. Like these are experiences that are definitely going to be memorable for them. It's good to make it supportive in that sense. Like they are going to be a bundle of insecurity because we're a bundle of insecurity as well. The one-on-one conversations really creates that safe space and allows you to tackle that. Of course, if the player is willing to change and to understand that they have that lack or that they like they want to receive feedback, for example, but they can't handle it, so they want to know how to handle it. If they're in that mindset, then that's good. If they're not, then maybe they don't know that they should be. It's about awareness as well. There are things that you might not be aware of as a person. Like you don't know what the next step you need, what's the next step that should be in front of you. But that's why you have a coach or a mentor or someone that has been there. And people might not want to get coached because of the feedback, but you will have to, and it's a part of the process. And it's something that's going to make you a better player and a better person overall, because some coaches don't just help you in terms of gameplay. So when the player understands that within themselves, and it becomes, and understands that it all comes from love, not from fear. Like, I don't need you to just perform because, well, if you're not going to perform, you're out of the team. I want you to perform because you're going to be happy with your performance as well. It comes from a place of compassion. I think also players will rally around and can break through that frustration or even shyness or anxiety from also voicing, because we're also talking about voicing a concern through that candid conversation in the safe space.
I would say professional, not fear or love is what you're looking for. I don't think there's a lot of love or fear in a team environment.
Every action has its roots in either love or fear, and then it's just a different shade of either emotion. So, for example, if you're anxious that the team is underperforming, that's fear-based. If you want them to perform because you want to see your players improve, that comes from a compassionate perspective. It's all professional, but again, like, we're human beings at the end. This is again my perspective on it. Like, I don't know, you guys maybe have a different perspective.
Oh yeah, I had players before, for example, that came to my mind that hated any direct feedback because they said, how does the coach know what I'm doing wrong if he's not better than me. And with that kind of mindset, you can basically just kick the player out instantly, because that's not what the coach doesn't have to be better at the job of the player. The coach just has to tell the players how they can improve or what they did wrong, so they don't do it wrong again. But there's a lot of players that don't take any criticism from people that they think that are not as good as them, no matter if they are in a different kind of position. But I had players that only would that would only listen to other players who at least had some achievements, for example. And with this kind of mindset, I think you won't really have any chance to improve yourself to a level where you can become one of the best.
Yeah. So,
And I think just briefly on that, Jamil, your perspective where you came from, fear and love, I think are deeply human, you know, and I think that if a coach has that kind of depth, then they can always deliver extremely good and supportive feedback. Now, when you understand then human nature branching from fear and love, you can really do things. Then comes your experience in the professional scene, and you know how to translate it into those. So I actually agree with you. You know, a lot of human action coming out of the want or the need for love, and the fear of many things. Yeah, and what you're trying to do is essentially build up the basis of every player. And feedback for us is almost like putting another layer on. And I've experienced exactly the same as Vetrezz. I've had players just simply say, no, I don't think that's what's needed. Yeah. But again, you know, we've discussed it already now from org level, from coaching perspectives, now from player perspectives. It really is, you know, the recipe for a great cake. But you also have to know what not to put in it.
yeah.
Yeah.